welcome. We'd like to thank you all for joining us for the risk mitigation webinar. We're going to wait just a few minutes to allow others to join. We have a large number of attendees today for today's session, so please bear with us during the silence. Again, still a lot of folks joining. That's great to see. We're going to wait just another minute or so to give everyone a chance to join the webinar. So please, again, bear with us just another minute during the silence. So on behalf of Kastle Systems, RCM&D, and Clemens Construction, we'd like to welcome everyone to the Risk Mitigation webinar. We're excited to share with you today some concrete strategies to mitigate job site risk that are intended to help you deliver more projects on time and under budget, while at the same time improving the safety of your job sites for the benefit of your employees and the communities in which your projects reside. I'm Dave Fisher. I'm the leader of Kastle Systems Construction Group. Along with Richard Shaw, a 28-year veteran and leader of RCM&D's construction practice, and finally Jeff Lyons with Clemens Construction, one of the largest general contractors in the Philadelphia area. During the next 30 minutes, we'll be discussing job site risk factors, along with strategies to improve risk mitigation practices, including an overview of the role that new technology can play. And lastly, we'll go over a case study from a forward-leaning general contractor that has deployed new technology as an integral part of its risk mitigation strategy. And at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Richard Shaw with RCM&D, who will be discussing risk factors on construction projects as well as mitigation strategies. Rich?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you today. So from an insurance and risk management standpoint, I'm going to talk about four different things. When I look at a job site risk overview, what are the things that we look at? First thing is going to be physical risks on the job site. We're going to talk about some of the other type of risks that you face on a job. We're going to talk about if you have a claim, what's the impact of the claim. And then the final thing is how to prevent or mitigate risk. So physical risks involve three different things. The first thing is kind of common sense, geography. Where is the job located? Is it in a city? Is it outside a city? Is there surrounding buildings? So what's it adjacent to? What's next door? Is it a historic building? Is it a school? Is it a playground? And how accessible is the site? So that's the first thing that we look at as far as a job site. What are the physical issues there with the geography? The second thing I look at is what type of job it is. So is it a job that's surface only, subsurface, you're digging, you're putting in a parking pad? It's much different than if you're building a ground up high-rise building where there's elevated risk. We look at whether there's outdoor or indoor exposure or if there's a combination. So that's the second thing we look at. And then the third thing is security. How you secure the job site. Are you monitoring who's coming on and leaving the job? And how are you protecting the property at the job site? So the other risks are risks that tie directly into insurance. So a risk to third parties is property damage and bodily injury. And that's essentially what your general liability coverage would provide. What does that mean? So I'm looking at a job. How is can I prevent somebody from coming on that job and getting injured, or how can I prevent somebody's property from being damaged as a result of work on that job? So the first thing I look at is, does the site create an attractive nuisance? And I think about all the videos that I see where some young kid, goes up a crane because it's, hanging out over a city, landmark or something, and they've got the GoPro cam and they want to show, hey, look, I got up to the top and here it is. Or I want to hang a banner that, tells something about some cause that I'm looking at. That's an attractive nuisance, and construction sites are full of them. Equipment is attractive nuisance. You might have a retaining pond or something else there. So we want to look at that, and how do we protect that? Because we know that's something that can be seen. You're proud when your crane is up and it's got the company banner hanging on it because everybody in the city can see it, but at the same time, that also means that's an attractive nuisance for people. What do we want to look at as we look at how do we prevent the general public from getting injured? What precautions are we taking to prevent them from coming on the site? Or if it's an adjacent site, and you're doing some type of work there's a sidewalk next door, or there's a hotel, or there's a school, how are you going to prevent those people from getting injured that are adjacent to your site? Adjacent properties become a real issue, particularly in cities, because they're not going to go anywhere. The job site is in the middle of other buildings. It's in the middle of a busy intersection. Wherever you're working, we got to identify those things that are going to come in contact with the general public. Real important thing on job sites is maintenance. Whether it's trash, levels, potholes, whatever it is, most people aren't paying attention. They're walking, they're looking at their phone, they're driving, they're not always paying attention when they're driving. So you got to assume that even if it was a perfect job site, there's still a risk of somebody falling, but it's even greater when you don't have good housekeeping. You got to treat it as if it was a functioning site and people are coming on and off of that, and you're going to have people slip and fall if it's not maintained properly. And then the final thing is, when you look at risk to third parties, are you managing access? Do you track people coming on to job? Do you track people coming off? If there's an allegation that somebody says, I was on your job site or walking by and I got hurt on Tuesday, how are you proving that it didn't happen? So when you have a job site, you have employees that work for you. You also may have employees that work for subcontractors, and in which case you're a statutory employer. So we look at protecting your employees, your subs employees, from any type of injury or illness that's created at that job. So I look at a couple things. What kind of safety plans in place? Are you requiring protective equipment, requiring specific drug testing, whatever the requirements are? And then the second thing is, are you enforcing those things? And it just can't be your employees. You got to make sure that anybody that you hire as a subcontractor or any sub of a subcontractor is following the same plans. Because if that risk is there for anybody, it can result in somebody getting hurt. I think management of subcontractors on job sites is really one of the biggest challenges, because everybody doesn't have the same safety practices. You might have a subcontractor that comes on that's doing things in an unsafe fashion. Well, not only does that risk put their employees at risk, it also puts your employees at risk, to be honest with you, because that's the stuff that's happening. And probably the most important thing in dealing with job site risk when you look at employees is a daily job hazard analysis. And what that entails is looking at the job. Every job site on a construction site changes day to day. Whether it's because of the weather, whether it's because of new equipment, or whatever work is being done, the exposures that you're facing and that your employees could get injured with are changing every day. So you need to make sure that you're looking at that every day. The next thing is risk to your property. And I look at that as a couple of things. You have stuff that's being delivered to the job site and it disappears that night, and the next day you come back and those materials aren't there to install. How are you preventing things from being stolen? how are you preventing vandalism from occurring on your job? Because any of these things can set your project back. If you have to start over, got to order new materials, got to clean up vandalism or something that's trashed on your site. How do you store your materials, your tools? What precautions are being taken? You'd be surprised how much stuff walks off of job sites. There's an article recently in Cecil County, Maryland, where they've used a drone to locate hundreds of thousands of hours of construction equipment that was disappearing from a bunch of sites, and somebody was taking it and they were basically stowing it someplace to resell it. And I also look at inventory. When you have stuff delivered, are you recording it? Who's responsible for checking that stuff in and checking the vehicles that are leaving the job site to make sure stuff isn't leaving on the back of a truck? And so that we don't have a situation where somebody's bleeding you to death as far as taking things off the job. As an inventory keeps track of it on a daily basis, you know what's coming in and what's being installed. So a claim that occurs at a job has a bunch of impact, different types of impact to you. First is the premium increases. If you have a worker that's injured, it's going to cost you more money on your experience mod. It's going to likely require you to pay a higher premium. Same with general liability. These things drive costs. In addition, on almost every contract that you sign, as a contractor, you're responsible for any deductible or retention payments under that. So if you have a deductible for a property that's stolen and it's a $1,000 deductible, that first $1,000 is coming out of your pocket. What does that mean? That means that's cost that's going against that job that you didn't anticipate. And so that means that potentially you're going to lose some profit on it. Any kind of work delays, halting work because of an injury, illness, accident could create damages that might contractually be, you may be responsible for paying to the owner. And again, those aren't things you're going to claw back through change orders and that type of thing. If OSHA comes out as a result of an accident or there's some type of injury, illness, death, and they fine you, or another regulatory body comes out and they fine you for unsafe work practices, those are costs that are not insurable. They're not part of your, you're not going to get it back in a liability workers' comp. They're coming out of your pocket. And those are things that are killers as far as profit. And loss of profit, accidents can create significant loss of profit on jobs. The final thing is negative publicity. Anytime there's a job accident, a fire, a building that's under construction, there's a fire, a new multifamily building, it's on the news. If somebody gets killed on a construction site, it's on the news. So whether you're directly or indirectly involved, if you're on that job site, there's probably going to be negative publicity. And then the final thing is mitigating and preventing risks. I look at, there's really 4 things to do: the security, awareness, job hazard analysis, and inspections.
Well, thanks, Rich. That was insightful, and just reflecting on the 4 elements of the mitigation strategy. You touched on security, awareness, job hazard analysis, and inspections. I wanted to take this opportunity in the next segment to discuss the role that new technology can play in terms of risk mitigation and better security and safety applied to the job through the use of this technology. In particular, I'll be discussing artificial intelligence-enabled video. This technology extends video beyond simply remote viewing as a form of a force multiplier for project management, and then forensic review, which is simply the ability to go back and piece together evidence of an event after the fact. Well, these are both invaluable components of risk mitigation. The addition of video analytics software makes video actionable. In other words, real time at a point that an event actually occurs. So specifically, it creates a mechanism for a camera system to automatically detect the presence of people or vehicles in areas they shouldn't be in, at times they shouldn't be there. Once the camera system makes a determination that there's a trespasser, say, in view of a specific camera, the system then can stream real-time video to a manned 24/7 operations center where a human operator then validates the camera's determination. At that point, the operator executes a set of predetermined and agreed upon protocols. The first protocol is most typically deterrence, where the operator would remotely access voice over IP speakers and engage the trespasser in real-time live audio talk down. So something like, hey, you in the gray sweatshirt. So the operator would describe what they see. We are monitoring you on live video. The police have been notified. Leave the area immediately. When done properly, it's very loud, it's very authoritative, and extremely effective. In the short video clip, you'll see a real-life example of its effectiveness. You'll see red boxes on the subjects that are the result of the artificial intelligence in the camera actually detecting people in its view. The video then travels to the operator. The operator then initiates the live audio talk down. And we also hope as you look at the short clip, you enjoy the artistic embellishment of the background audio in the clip you're about to watch. So that is a very common occurrence and literally the best part of an operator's day. So you might ask yourself, however, so what happens if the audio talk down is ineffective in deterring the trespassers? Well, that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, the central station then executes a second protocol, which is notification of the authorities. And the operator is essentially acting as a video eyewitness of a real-time event or crime in progress. And we also then can provide situational intelligence to first responders, namely the police department. As they're en route, we can tell them exactly what we're seeing from a central station. So in the next clip, you'll see 3 intruders enter a site. By the way, it's pitch black in this site, and although the human eye would most likely never see this event as it occurred, there are IR cameras enabled with the artificial intelligence, video analytics, and they're able to actually see in the dark. So if trespassers are to tarry on a job site, authorities armed with up-to-date situational awareness will intervene, as is the case in this next short clip. So essentially you have two pieces of the protocol. One is when somebody's on that property, again, remember what Rich said, the construction site is an attractive nuisance. Somebody's on that property, the best thing that can happen is we engage them, get them off the property as quickly as possible before they can do harm to themselves, damage to your site, or theft and vandalism. So we want to get them out of there. If that's not effective, we want to limit the amount of time they can be there before first responders are going to get there and actually apprehend them if they tarry on the site. So these cameras, keep in mind, they see everything in their field of view. They're always on the alert. They don't sleep, and they don't steal from the site. And by the way, they're much less expensive than conventional security guards. And what about during the working hours? These same cameras are always on duty as well. You can look in at any time to see what's going on with one of your projects or dozens of them from a computer, tablet, or a smartphone. And if a reported injury occurs in view of the camera, you'll have invaluable forensic evidence to help you determine how you'll manage that incident downstream. So These solutions have been componentized and made mobile for construction projects. So here you'll see on the pole, you'll see a box, a couple of cameras, and some other apparatus, a speaker. Everything that's needed to make this work is self-contained. The only thing that the contractor needs to provide is a mounting surface, could be a pole, side of a building, trailer, and then power. So, and in cases where electric power is not readily available due to the nature of the site and the stage of the project, solar options are also available in these same solutions. So what about costs? Most typically, providers of these services deliver it as a service, meaning you simply pay for it by the month, when and where you need it, and the costs are typically significantly less than the cost of a single security guard. So at this point, I wanted to turn this over to Jeff Lyons. We're very fortunate to have Jeff, who's in project management with Clemens Construction, here with us today. Clemens is one of the largest general contractors in the Philadelphia area, and Jeff is going to discuss how Clemens has deployed video analytics technology as an integral part of their strategy to mitigate risk and liability on many of its projects. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Dave. Happy to be part of this webinar. So I believe that Clemens has historically been diligent about implementing the strategies that Rich discussed to help mitigate risk and liability. About 15 months ago, we learned about the role video analytics technology could play in higher risk projects. Prior to deploying video analytics cameras, we would traditionally default to hiring security guards to watch high-risk sites after hours. We felt the service delivered by the guard companies was both inconsistent and costly. Our first implementation of video analytics was back in December of 2015. About 2 weeks after the installation, the system automatically detected an intruder, and the Philadelphia police responded, which resulted in apprehension on the spot. Since that time, we've deployed this technology on additional high-risk projects and have been happy with the results. In addition to the ability to protect the site after hours, we value the ability to be able to look in on the site during the day from anywhere and appreciate knowing that the cameras are always recording in case we need to go back and investigate something that happened on the job site. We now consider video analytics-enabled cameras to be an integral part of our risk mitigation strategy on high-risk projects and view the solution as not only more effective, but also more economical than hiring a security guard.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's great. And again, thanks for being here. So we're just about out of time, folks, and I had hoped to get to the many, many questions that I see posted. I guess maybe we have time to entertain one question. So just looking here. By the way, please forward any additional questions to us. You've got our contact information on the slide. We'll make sure that we get those answered for you. But Rich, this question's for you. It's from Jim in Chicago, and several others seem to have a similar question. They want to know about the correlation between implementing the risk management strategies, in particular the video analytics technology. What's the correlation between doing that and insurance costs for the project?
Well, I think the thing, Dave, is, these, when you have some type of record of what's actually happening, right, it gives you a stronger case to present. So if somebody alleges that they got hurt on a job or they allege that something was damaged on a job, you have some video to go back to. You think about if you go to a sporting event, you go to a grocery store or a mall or any public place, there's security cameras all over the place. Police use these things for crime, not only for deterrent, but also to investigate things. So insurance companies can use that same information. So I think not only is it good in terms of investigation, which is good because it might mitigate claims or prevent claims, but it's also a deterrent because if they know that you have that there, if somebody's going to try to commit fraud or damage something or vandalize something, they know that there's a record of it. So I think all in all, those are great things to help drive costs down.
That's great. Thanks, Rich. And by the way, again, the contact information is here for both Kastle and for RCM&D. Any questions you have, as I mentioned before, kindly reach out. We'd love to address those. We also very much appreciate your time and attention today, and we hope you'll kindly certainly reach out if we can help you in any way to reduce risk on your next project. Thanks again, everyone, for your time and attendance.